What's going on, guys? It's your boy Andy Matrix, and of course, Final Fantasy 16 had to somehow, one way or another, get censored. Now, it doesn't surprise me nowadays if a game gets censored. It's just that I mean, I'm kind of surprised, but not really. Okay, when in 2023, censorship is everywhere: games, movies, video games, heck. But initially, the reason why I'm a little surprised is because this game was supposed to be rated M for mature from the very beginning. And I really didn't think they would try and censor anything because they even show a gay character in the game, which is Dion, right? And they didn't shy away from that whatsoever. However, this one scene in the game got censored, right? It's mainly the script. So I'm here bounding into comics, and it says Square Enix censors English language Final Fantasy 16 script, softens dialogue regarding Iron Kingdom's treatment of female captives. I also want you to pay attention how they emphasize, the female captives, in other words, female slaves, essentially, because there is slavery in this game, and it's kind of funny because before the game came out, Square Enix was being criticized for being a bunch of racist, right? Because they didn't put any people of color or brown people in the game, but there was slavery in the game. And then after people found out, they were like, oh, well, now I see why. So anyways, there is this scene in the game where Jill has her revenge, right? She is the dominant of Shiva. She gets her revenge on her father, who was part of a cult. Well, actually, who was part of the Iron Kingdom, right? And in the Iron Kingdom, they enslave children, and if any of those children or female children have the possibility of being a dominant, they abuse those children, female children, and then they slaughter them, right? I'm trying to use very easy words here, But anyways, let's go ahead and read. It says, in the original Japanese version of the scene, as explained above by noted translator in iTai Japan founder Aubrey Lamson, it says the scene in the Final Fantasy 16 where Jill confronts Irian at the Iron Kingdom is incredibly graphic in Japanese. Right? The English says that Irian put the kids in chains, but the Japanese version says the children were all female and violated with the three-letter word sex before they were sacrificed. And it goes on to say, it's really messed up. She then opined, sharing a clip of the scene in the original Japanese. I was actually shocked when I got to listen to Jill's line during my second playthrough with Japanese audio, because the English version softened the violence a bit. It makes much more sense why Jill is so incredibly angry at Imriam. The meaning is much deeper, and Iriam is even more despicable. Which is exactly why it's a bad idea to censor it. It takes away from the impact of the story, from the impact of the moment. Okay? And people would have been able to feel her rage, to feel her anger, if they were able to listen to that line in English. But of course, you had to ruin it. Okay, and actually, let's go ahead and play that clip in Japanese and then in English. So here we go. Check out the clip.
私はこれまであなたに従い戦ってきた。すべては私と同じようにさらわれてきた娘たちを守るため。でもあなたは何をした？私の目の前で彼女たちを手ごめにして殺した。
ですがエーテルに毒された魂は清められねばならん。あれはジョーか、魂の救済。
Years I followed your orders, fought your wars, all to protect the children you took, just as you took me. And what did you do in return? You put them in chains and you slit
Okay, so you see the difference, right? You see the difference of the impact, right? The dialogue changes everything. That's why it's not a good idea to freaking censor it. Now, what I don't understand also is that Final Fantasy 16 was inspired by Game of Thrones, right? Because in Square Enix, they sat down, they watched seasons of Game of Thrones to be able to make this a possibility and learn about, Western epic fantasy or whatnot. The game was inspired by Game of Thrones, and yet they decided that this specific part was too much for Western audiences. And I'm gonna make a comparison here. Do you guys remember in Game of Thrones that girl that got burnt? You guys remember? Remember that girl, that little girl that got burnt? She's probably less than 10 years old, but she was a Baratheon girl. They took this girl and tied her to a pole and then burned her alive as a sacrifice in front of people. Right? And that was Game of Thrones, and they actually show you burning the little girl. It's horrible. But in this scene, they don't even show, the girls being abused. Jill, all she does is make a statement. Okay, she simply just makes a statement that the girls were, abused. And that's too much for a Western audience. Square Enix needs to get their priorities straight, or better yet, just get rid of your translators. Get rid of those translators and use, I don't know, maybe this is the perfect time to use AI translators. When translating from Japanese to English. That specific moment in the game was very important for Jill, which happens to be a very important character in the story, a strong female character in the story, who's in love with Clive, but they don't show it. So I want you to think about that. Think about Game of Thrones and all the horrible things they showed on Game of Thrones, and in this game, that one dialogue that points at something that happened, we can't handle that. This is how they see us. Or you know what? I don't think this is exactly how Japanese people view the Western people, but I think it's just these translators, these Western translators that work for Square Enix, that work in Japan. This is how they want everybody else to view the game or to experience the game. That's what sucks about it. Whatever your thoughts are, comment below, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for future notifications. It's your boy, The Matrix. Godspeed.